Welcome. Yo, yo, yo. It's live? Oh shit, it is live. I don't know what happened, but this app that I'm using is tripping. This is all gonna be cut out though. Welcome back to the Pondering podcast. If you've been following the last few weeks, this is going to be an episode on what I've been up to for the last 2 weeks this time. I know I took a week away, one, because of holidays, and two, because I spent a large part of the week playing Final Fantasy 16 and trying to end that. So that just took up a lot of time on top of, creating the content, the video. If you haven't watched my new video, never watch another nutrition video again. I highly recommend it. Or never watch another diet video again, and I changed it because diet works better for SEO. Anyway, welcome back. This is not going to be a long one because, again, as I mentioned, Final Fantasy 16 took a large part of the last 2 weeks. And then in between, once I ended it, was when I digged into some other things. So not too much in terms of how many podcasts I usually listen to. I'm actually trying to listen to less than I normally do, as well as things that I watched. Most of the things that I watch were on YouTube because I can watch that while I'm doing other things. I can also, take a walk with Copper and throw on YouTube. So I didn't really sit and watch anything, with the exception of two things. But anyway, let's just jump right into it. So if you're watching on the YouTube channel, hi, welcome. Hope you're subscribed. I'm just throwing that in there. The book that I finished reading over the last 2 weeks was this book by Jason Wilson called Battle Cry. If you don't know Jason Wilson, he had a hugely popular video go where and I'll post the link in the description below, freaking mic, where he was training a young boy, and the boy's trying to punch a little wooden panel, and the boy's having a hard time and starts to get really emotional, and Jason puts down the wooden panel and gives him a little pep talk about believing in yourself and stuff, picks it back up, and the kid ends up breaking it. So he had a breakthrough type of thing. Very powerful video, which I'm not surprised why it became such a viral hit. A few months ago, I think, or last year, he was on the Joe Rogan podcast. I listened to it. I had his book on my book list, my ever-growing book list. I think it's at 250 books that I want to buy. I decided to finally grab it because I was like, oh, I need a new book to read. And this one was at the top. And I was like, I should read it. And it's a great book on mastering your emotion. It is mostly geared for men. But if you're a woman with a man in their life, a son, an uncle, a father they love, it's great to read so you have a better understanding of where your man or your loved one comes from in terms of emotions. And maybe it'd be good for you to read. I always say it's good if you do it first so that someone else will be more likely to pick it up because they see that you're doing it. Instead of just shoving it. I think you should read this. Why? I don't know. I just think you should read it. I read the back and it made me think of you. And it's like, no, come. I always say when you're going to give someone a gift or that is a book, make sure you've read it so that you can say, hey, this made me think of you because of this that he talks about, this that he talks about, and this that he talks about. Come on with 2 or 3 things. So it was great on, understanding masculinity. He's very religious. So if you're not a religious person, he will throw a lot of God in there. He calls God Yah. I think the Hebrew name is Yahweh or something like that. I could be getting this wrong. I don't know how to pronounce it in the book, but he used a lot of Hebrew words for the religious things. But I felt it was pretty cool because I also got the Bible recently. So whenever he talked, he had a little verse, I would go to the Bible and like look for the verse and like find it and read like the before and after of that verse. Just have a better understanding of the OG of self development. I've been on this grind, like not grind, but I've been on this path of self development for freaking almost 15 years, I think. Yeah, I started when I was about 18, going into my 19th birthday. And I've been following this path since. And everything points to the Bible, the original self development book. So I was like, I'm going to read it. Yeah, it's hard to read, but I'll figure it out. And it's also what made me want to get this book. Because I know when I heard him on the Joe Rogan podcast, he really talked about, you know, different parts on becoming like a better husband, a better father, a better leader in your community. And he's very community oriented, and that's something I'm going towards. Like, how can I be more community oriented instead of being like, I need millions of followers, I need millions of this, I need everyone to love me. It's like, no, why can't I just be part of a community? I have a specific gift that I can offer the community, but so does everyone else. So I'd rather have that versus like this like hustle grind culture, you know, that'll grind you into the dust. Because grinding literally means wearing away. So when you say you're grinding, you're literally wearing yourself away, which is a quote from the book actually that he mentions about grind. But yeah, there's a lot of great stuff in here. Whether it's about embracing your why does my mic keep falling? Whether that's embracing your soft sides, but also embracing those dangerous warrior sides. I mean, he's a martial artist. He's jujitsu. He does jujitsu. He does judo. He does all these other martial arts. I think is very powerful. So highly recommend if you don't. And as I mentioned, I've been reading the Bible every morning. Just one chapter, nothing crazy. Just to have a better understanding of the original self-development book. And it's huge, so I know I'm going to be reading it for quite a while. All right, moving on to things that I watched this week. Some interesting things that I watched. I watched on YouTube an unfiltered conversation with Mr. Beast by YouTube channel Colin and Samir. It was a fantastic conversation. I've been enamored by Mr. Beast. I don't want to be like him. There's too many copycats on here, and his videos cost millions of dollars to create. But it makes me think of, you know, Michael Jordan. He is the Michael Jordan of YouTube outside of PewDiePie, who was the original like #1 star of YouTube. Now it's Mr. Beast. But he is obsessed. Like, so just like Michael Jordan was, just like Kobe was, just like, you know, Tom Brady, like all the greats, Tiger Woods, all the greats are obsessed. They're so obsessed it affects, unfortunately, the gift of this obsession is also a curse that everything else in your life starts to fade, like fall apart. So Mr. Beast, you know, talks about his own health journey. He recently got really fit. There's a great photo of him out there of a before and after, and he looks great. So I'm happy that he's taking care of his health and, you know, relationships, and how like all his day is spent like literally just working. Luckily, his work is fun too. So at least he's having fun while he's doing this, it's beautiful. But it's really interesting to hear like the obsession of somebody, and how excited he gets when you ask him specific YouTube questions. It just shows like if you're not, you know, obsessed, or at least, you know, like I'm going all in on this, you're not going to get, you can probably get some success, but you won't get that kind of success, like Mr. B success. So it was a great episode with Colin and Samir. Then another YouTube video I watched. It's kind of funny. It was great content. It was 3 guys, I think, as part of this YouTube channel, or I think it's one YouTube channel. He featured the 2 other ones. I don't know. But the channel is called Anime Balls Deep. I'm a big anime lover. And I haven't really watched anything over the last few weeks because a lot of what I watch is currently like I'm up to the latest thing. But anyway, they had a great, it was a long video. It was like 2 hours video called The Complete Attack on Titan Timeline. I read the manga like when it ended because I didn't want to wait for the anime. So I already know how it ends, and I was kind of in the middle. I won't spoil it, but I wanted to hear this. One of the guys in the video, I'm not gonna lie, for me, his voice is very annoying. I'm sorry, dude. Like, I don't know your name, but the voice to me was very annoying. He sounds like he's trying too hard. It's like, bro, just relax. Like, but it was a great video nonetheless. They really dig deep, and this is why I love anime, because there's always these super deep like lessons in it, and the way it ends is not like it's like an Inception, if you ever watched a movie where it ends and you're like, well, did the thing fall or not? Some people think it did, some people think it didn't. So is he in a dream forever, or is he, just living his regular life? It's one of those things when it comes to the end of Attack on Titan, where you don't know. But anyway, that's a great video. Another great video I watched, which some parts had lulls, but for the most part, it was really interesting take on Japanese role-playing games. I grew up playing Final Fantasy. Obviously, I just finished Final Fantasy 16, but that's not the only RPGs I played growing up. I played so many. I played the Tales series. I've played, Star Ocean. I've played Legend of Dragoon. I can't even remember all the ones I played. Arms. I forget what that. Anyway, I'm not gonna go over them. But I played tons of RPGs, Japanese RPGs specifically, and I always wonder, like in these games, you do actually fight gods. You fight gods all the freaking time. And this video does a very good job of explaining the history as to why a lot of Japanese role-playing games, a lot of the writers and things, take a lot from history and create, like, in killing a god, you're killing an old way and you're creating a new way of living. Which, funny enough, as I was watching, I was like, oh shit, they did this with Final Fantasy 16 too. I won't spoil anything, but just know that you get to fight a god. I mean, you get to fight a god in almost every single Final Fantasy to some extent, whether it's a main final boss or it's one of those like secret dungeon bosses outside of that. So that was a great video. I forget the man's name, but I'm going to link all of this below. Then July 4th, Tom Segura's new special came out, Sledgehammer, and it was great. Tom Segura, I love his comedy. It goes a little out there, some crazy stuff he says, but for the most part, Tom Segura's new special is great. Highly recommend it. Karina and I also, over the last 2 weeks, have been watching The Bear on Hulu. It's the cooking, well, not cooking, you can say like chef drama. I don't know what the hell they call those shows, but it is fantastic. Season 2, I think, beats season 1. Season 1 was great. There was a few episodes that were like lulls for us where they were kind of boring, but season 2 did not disappoint. Every episode got better and better and better and better. I'm excited for the next season. I highly recommend it. Again, it's one of those shows that shows what happens when you're obsessed. When you're obsessed, unfortunately, other parts of your life fall away. It's like, there's a great quote that I heard, I think 2 years ago, and it's stuck with me ever since. It's like, you can have it all, but you can't have it all at once. So I know a lot of people in our Western society feels that we can have everything we want. And it's like, yes, you can, but it's just not going to all be at once. You want the relationship, you want the money, you want the deep friendships, going out every weekend, you want, the freedom to travel and do all this. Well, something is going to be sacrificed while you're pursuing obsessively, whichever one, most people pursue the god of money, I like to say. So other things get sacrificed in the process, whether that's your relationship, whether that's your freedom, because you spend hours, countless hours just working to make the money that you want. Your friendships die out because you don't have time. You're always working, right? Like, that's just an example, but for the most part, you can have it all, just can't have it all at once. So The Bear really, really exemplifies that. Then again, I finished Final Fantasy 16. I put a lot of hours into that game. I mean, it's not short, which is great. But I'm at the age where I'm like, yo, I don't need a game to be 80 hours. Like they like to like. I remember back in the day they were advertised that like 80 hours of gameplay. Nah, bro. Please give me a 20 to 30 hour game at most, hours in general, like God of War, and I'm good. But this was probably about the same, like 30 to 40 hours in total. And it was fantastic. A lot of the people online are like, why they change everything? But it's like, bro, we have to grow. And so do the things that we've been following for years. Final Fantasy has been around since the 80s, turn-based content, but it still had a Final Fantasy feel. It still had the beautiful story, the good and evil. They even brought back crystals, which is how Final Fantasy started. It was all about these crystals and energy and blah, blah, blah. Magic, all this. They brought that same idea. And it's pretty cool how it ended. I love that it gave like a nice little bow tie ending. It was fantastic. I don't even think it needs any like downloadable content like DLC after it. It was just like nice. They didn't stray away from a lot of things. It's not perfect. It's not perfect. The side missions, some of them were terrible. I hated them. I hated doing them, but I wanted the experience and the loot from them. Some of them were great. The side characters were great. The battle system was phenomenal. So I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I would love to play it again in a few months after like the hype wears off a bit, just to see what I can find that's not so well done. But it's a beautiful game, beautiful story. It was definitely one of the best of 2023 so far. All right, moving on to podcasts. So again, I was playing Final Fantasy 16, so podcasts were rare, but I did listen to some when I was at the gym and things like that. One of my favorite podcasts over the last 2 weeks has to be Russell Brand on the Diary of a CEO podcast. Such a great podcast. Russell Brand, if you don't know his history, he goes into it a little bit, but I know he was addicted to drugs, and he was like, a womanizer, like all these things he talks about. He talks about a little bit of things about his book, and goes into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu a bit, which I enjoyed. And he talks about also religion and obviously I can only imagine, like if you're going through addictions like drugs and stuff, you go through, an Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous, and you find God usually. I mean, the 12-step process is literally, most of those people become religious. They need a higher power to help them and support them, to know that they're not always alone, which I think is very beautiful in many ways. And even the spiritual community, they don't like to call it God, but they say the universe, right? But whatever, universe, God, synonyms, you can consider them one and the same. If God doesn't like that, you can slap me right now. But what I love, one of the key takeaways, just one takeaway, and that's what I look for whenever I listen to podcasts, like one takeaway from this. And it was that he said, if you don't believe in God or you don't believe in some higher power, something will always take its place. He's like, you will consider money your God, women your God, drugs your God, fashion your God, celebrities your God, which is something a lot of people do, right? They look at celebrities and they're like, they like put them on a pedestal when really they're just only humans. So it's, I don't know, it just really stuck out to me because it's like over the years I've been everything. I've been atheist, agnostic, and now I'm currently like going through my own like journey of like, hey, I need something to believe in that's higher than me, where I don't always feel alone, that I know something is there energetically, watching my back, something that I can speak to, whatever that is, prayer, meditation, whatever you want to call it. But that was just very interesting. Highly recommended. Diary of a CEO, Russell Brand. I saved it because I'm like, I'm definitely gonna listen to this whenever I'm on a plane. I don't have service. It's just a great thing to listen to. Listen to Ice Cube on Joe Rogan's podcast. Another person that was just put in the work, and it's always interesting to hear stories from successful people and see like when they talk about when they weren't successful and when they get that lucky break, because it's always like a lucky break, like how he got into acting. Just someone came up to him, it was like a friend of a friend. I was like, I'd love for you to be in my movie. And I think it was like Boys in the Hood or something like that. And from there, just, Ice Cube got told, like, great, you was in a movie. And someone else was like, you should write a movie, because he was so good at like writing lyrics and stuff. And he was like, okay. And he ended up writing Are We There Yet? And the second one, and Barbershop. And it's just cool to hear that, and, how genius can come from anywhere, And then Tom Segura on Joe Rogan's podcast. It's just funny to listen to those two speak. So nothing crazy, no learning lessons, just more for entertainment. Destiny on impact theory. It was a two-parter. I think it's like 3 hours in total. But Destiny, I've been following him for quite some time. He's super like political. He argues with people on the internet, and I have some deep respect for people who are willing to just be like, let's fight. I have strong opinions. Because I'm not the type of person to have strong opinions. I like to find both sides and kind of like live there. But he's very respectable, and just like what he talks about and how he navigates those kinds of conversations. I always listen to him on podcasts. Then Connor Beaton on the Align Method podcast. I think it was a podcast on toxic masculinity, and I think porn or something like that, because it was like men need to not stop watching porn, but like, hey, there's problems there, and we need to educate young men on what is the difference between like pornography and like real life sex. So it was a great episode. Then finally, I listened to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Lex Friedman's podcast. I love listening to anyone who is going for the presidency, especially if they get on Lex Friedman's podcast. I think Lex asks great questions. He challenges, for the most part, not aggressively, but... Sorry, my dog is like moving a lot. So, and Robert F. Kennedy's, as much as most people disagree with him when it comes to like vaccine stuff, I think his other, fine, like whatever, but everyone has their thing that you're just like, but everything else he talks about, he wants to continue JFK's legacy. I'm all for that. JFK was awesome. He wasn't perfect either, but, oh, you got it off? You bastard. So yeah. Cool. Now, personally, last time I think the day after, a few days after I did the podcast, I was in jiu-jitsu, and my rib was messed up right here. If you're watching the video, it's like the lower part, the lowest rib next to my tummy. And luckily it's not broken. I've been able to breathe. It hurt for like 4 days, and I think what happened was I was just the way I was positioned, and then I moved weird, and like my ribs probably like rubbed one another. They like came together, rubbed. It hurt like a crunch, but I don't know, maybe it was just they just rubbed together, which caused that crunch sound. Because at first I was like, it's fractured, it's broken or something. But as soon as I like called my mom, who's worked in like, who worked in like doctor's offices, saw a lot of crazy stuff. I was like, hey, give me, what should I know if it's broken or not? Should I go to the hospital and probably get a $4,000 bill? And she asked me all these questions. I could breathe. I could still move. I could walk. I could get up. Yeah, it hurt a little bit for a few days, but the day after I was outside running. And then a few days later I was lifting, like not heavy, but I was lifting a good weight. So I gave it 2 weeks. I was soft on it. I didn't want anyone to be on top of it, put too much pressure on it. And it's been the 2 weeks, and recently I just went back to jiu-jitsu, obviously very slowly, telling guys to chill out. But it felt good. It felt good to be back. I'm taking it easy and making sure that I tell guys when they get too excited to chill. So there's that when it comes to just recent updates on health. I'm finishing up my 10-week aesthetics programming. So it's a fitness program specifically to make your body look nice. So have gotten a little bit bigger in terms of muscle size. And if you follow me on Instagram and all the things, I'm going to be posting a before and after photo. I don't have any shirtless ones, but you'll see the difference in my shoulders, my pecs, my face, things like that. In terms of nutrition, last time I think I was eating anywhere from 23 to 2,400 calories, and I was doing that for about 2 months. And I recently started to drop that. So I dropped it to 21 to 2,200. I give a range because there's some days I don't even hit it. I don't even hit 2,100. Some days, especially when I don't work out, I'm just not as hungry. And some days I'll hit the max of 2,200. But I try to gun for 2,100. But I'm looking to lean out a lot more. And the reason for this slow way of doing it is so that it can stay that way, and I don't bounce back, get crazy fat, lose my metabolism, because it's pretty high. I want to keep it that way, so I don't want to, dull it down. And I still get to enjoy daily desserts. Lastly, for the last week or so, I got a Bible, so I've been meditating on that, journaling. You can say meditating or praying, journaling. I'm not consistent with it, honestly. It's been taking a back seat. There's always something in the morning that the cat threw up, or I gotta clean the litter box, or I gotta walk the dog because he's begging me to go outside, or so things just take up the morning, unfortunately, like that. Now I'm if it's probably gonna be the same when I have kids, so it's okay, I need to start figuring out how I can put journaling and meditating in the middle of my day or at the end of my day. But usually at the end of my day, I really like to just chill and read. That's my thing at night, just reading, no scrolling, turn off all devices and just read till I get tired. But yeah, so that's been super helpful. And that's about it, y'all. I told you it was going to be a long one. And it might not be a long one next week because I've been on my own journey, just focusing on the work, my business, and staying away from as many podcasts as I used to listen to. So there's that. I hope anything stood out to you. Please watch it. All the links are below. Support these creators and these amazing people. Leave a comment down below if you have any additional questions from anything that I mentioned today. I would love to start a conversation. I'm really trying to build a community, especially here on YouTube. So, and if you're not subscribed, please do so. It would mean a lot. It would really help the channel and help reach more people out there, as I'm going to be bringing guests for the next few weeks. I have a guest coming on Friday. That episode should be out next week. I also have a guest coming on Sunday. That episode should be out the following week. And as long as everything goes well and I don't get rescheduled on. But yeah, that's it. So thank you. Much love. And I hope to see y'all soon. Peace.